With the rematch between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump officially set, third-party candidates and well-funded organizations are attempting to carve out their own paths. Jeff Bennett recently took a closer look.
No third party or independent candidate has received more than 19% of the vote in modern history. Still, the effort to field an alternative ticket is underway. White House correspondent Laura Barron-Lopez has been following all of this and joins us now. So, Laura, remind us who these third-party candidates are and which ones are actually gaining traction.
Right. Let's go through the list, Jeff. So first we have of the independents, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Cornel West. Then when it comes to potential third parties, No Labels. They don't have a candidate yet. Green Party. Candidate is to be determined. Libertarian Party. The candidate is also to be determined. But when it comes to them getting ballot access, a number of them are. So currently, there is at least one third party or independent candidate from that list that I mentioned on the ballot in 44 states so far. But when you take a look at the battleground states that will ultimately be the states that determine this election, a third party candidate is on the ballot in all 7 of those battleground states, Jeff.
Of the candidates you mentioned, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is arguably the best known. What kind of progress is he making?
RFK Jr. Has been receiving about 19% of voter support in the polls so far, and he's pulling right now in those polls from both President Biden and former President Donald Trump. He's expected to announce a vice presidential candidate on March 26th in Oakland. He's struggled to get on a number of the ballots across states, but despite that, Democrats really see him as a threat to their candidate more so than Republicans do. The Democratic National Committee is heavily focusing on RFK Jr. right now because they see him, as you said, this candidate with the biggest name ID, the Kennedy name behind him, and they are going to be highlighting over and over again the conspiracy theories that he has embraced, whether that's saying that chemicals in the water turn people transgender or his big anti-vaccine platform, which, again, there's no evidence there, Jeff, that vaccines are harmful to people or of his any other conspiracy theories.
We've seen the political group No Labels spend a lot of money trying to field their own candidate. They still don't have a ticket. Where does that stand?
This week, they selected a nominating committee to pick that presidential candidate, which they said they aim to pick by April. And when I talked to No Labels, they said they aren't doing this because they want to be a spoiler, that they're doing this because of the fact that they see 2 candidates, leading candidates that have low approval rating. But they push back on the accusations against them that this is simply a spoiler effort.
The idea that any of us are going to put our careers on the line and our reputations on the line so we can be part of a shadow effort to help Donald Trump is a joke. That's not what this is about. What this is about is providing a choice to the public that both parties absolutely refuse to provide.
Still, Jeff, after starting this effort nearly 2 years ago, No Labels has not been able to find a presidential candidate. And some of their leading contenders, like former Republican governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, and Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, have said that they have no interest in mounting a third-party bid.
It seems to be the Democrats, Laura, who are most concerned about a third-party candidate siphoning off votes from President Biden. How are Democrats in the Biden campaign responding to this?
Democrats are reacting to this in a way that they never have before, Jeff. They say that they're not going to make the same mistakes that were made in 2016. And the Democratic National Committee has a team dedicated to combating a third-party threat now. There was a new super PAC called Clear Choice that was launched by Biden allies to also confront this. And then there's these Democratic outside groups across the spectrum, whether it's the progressives at Move On or the more moderate Democrats at Third Way, that are really trying to tackle this. And they say that ultimately, right now, their focus is on trying to persuade potential high-profile candidates that may mount a bid to not do so. But come summer, they are going to be heavily focused on educating voters about what they say is the big threat of a third-party candidacy.
They throw away their vote and cast it for a third-party candidate who has no hope of winning. They are, in essence, helping Donald Trump because Trump has no way of winning a two-way race. He cannot get anywhere close to 50% of the vote, but he can win a multi-candidate race if people throw away their votes and vote for people like Kennedy. But between Kennedy and No Labels and the others, there is an enormous risk.
Jeff, that risk that Matt Bennett is talking about is something that the Biden campaign is well aware of. But right now, Biden advisors say that they are heavily focused on making this a binary choice. They just want to present to voters that this race is ultimately between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Now, if we see come summer that a viable or a potential third-party candidate can pose a significant threat to President Joe Biden, then sources close to Biden will tell me that you could very well see the Biden campaign or other Democratic groups start to push out testimonials from voters that voted in 2016 for a Green Party candidate like Jill Stein, and then saw that sway the ultimate result in key states like Michigan and Wisconsin.
That's an interesting strategy. How are voters responding to all of this right now? Are any of these candidates actually making headway among general election voters? I've
talked to some potential swing voters in states like Arizona who say that they're curious about a third-party candidacy or an independent candidate. Sarah Longwell, a Republican pollster who does focus groups with a number of independent and swing voters, says that some voters have expressed concern that a third-party or independent candidate may not be totally realistic.
If I could only pick between Trump and Biden, I would go Biden. But if there's other people out there, I'm definitely going to look at them. However, I also feel like a lot of times it's a throwaway vote, then maybe Trump would get in.
I think that no labels thing is very idealist. Like, oh, wouldn't this be nice to have kind of a moderate ticket? Not pragmatic. It's not, we always complain about the two-party system, but there's no way to beat it.
Still, Longwell told me that a lot of GOP voters who voted for Nikki Haley in the Republican primary, which are voters that President Joe Biden is going to be targeting, that they are potentially susceptible to a third-party candidate, especially if it's a Republican that's leading that ticket. And again, Jeff, as you well know, that could have a significant impact at the margins in those battleground states.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura Barone Lopez, thanks as always for that great reporting.
Thank you.